It is down. It is over. And the Irish have knocked off number one Clemson. Clemson has all day. Tries to escape, circles back, still alive. Loses a football. Ball comes out. It's scooped up by the Ducks. Tony Washington streaking to the end zone.
For the Oregon Ducks, at the quarterback position, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Our only Heisman Trophy winner, Marcus Mariota, has to be the best quarterback to ever come out of the University of Oregon. So that goes without saying. Running back one. So running back 1 and 2, this was a really hard one for me because Oregon's had so many. Had a crazy 3 years at the University of Oregon. Obviously, Heisman Trophy. He ended, I believe, third in the Heisman Trophy voting in 2010 or the 2010-2011 season. Number 2, it was hard for me. I was having a conversation with my dad a little bit about this, trying to figure out some of these guys because he's been an Oregon fan. He got to watch them throughout the 80s and 90s. So he had a little bit more knowledge for me, but I had to go with Royce Freeman. I had to go with Royce Freeman for RB2. And the reason for it is because he owns I think all of the records for running backs at the University of Oregon.
Like the good old Rolls Royce.
And he's easy to look over because of some of the seasons. Like he was our running back for the 2016 season when we went 4-8, went 7-5 one of the years too. So it's easy to look over him. And I know Jonathan Stewart was the guy that my dad wanted. So he was really, really good, and he could have definitely been on this list, but just because of the records that Royce owns, I couldn't. Tight end number 1 was really easy, and that was Ed Dixon. Connor knows all about Eddie Dixon.
I mean, he never flashed. Unfortunately, he was left in Pitta's shadow for the Ravens at times, but he did better when he was with Carolina. But he still helped in the Super Bowl run, because I think we drafted him 2 years before the Super Bowl run, so he definitely helped for that. Mm-hmm. So I always liked him.
He was always more of he was like a Kyle Pitts look type, where he was more of a taller, long. He wasn't a great blocker. He was just a great receiver. But that's where he thrived so much at Oregon, was just his receiving was incredible. So obviously Ed Dixon there, one of his best games. Thing about Ed Dixon, one of his best games ever came against number 6 California at Autzen Stadium. He had I think he had 3 touchdowns and nearly 200 yards receiving. I was at that game. And then tight end 2, I didn't get to watch this guy play because he played in the years 99 to 2001, but I spoke with my dad about it a little bit, and it's Justin Peel. He was a tight end back in the Joey Harrington era, and which doesn't surprise me that he was so good, because Joey Harrington
Wait. The legend that is Joey Harrington went to Oregon? I did not know that.
Yes, he was a really, really good, and should have probably won the Heisman, and probably should have won a national championship in 2001, but they got ripped off. Let's put it that way. They were the number 2 team in the country, and then the BCS was so dumb back then that they put in the number 3 versus the number 1, which I hated. But anyways, Justin Peel had a really good career at Oregon. And that's really all I can say about him. I didn't know about him too much, but he was Joey Harrington's guy, so I'm sure Oregon loves their tight ends. Best offensive lineman, this one's super easy, and it's Penei Sewell. It's not even close. Spoiler alert, he will be on my all-time team as the O-lineman. He only allowed
when your comm coming into the NFL is Anthony Munoz, that's a pretty remarkable bar.
Oh, I mean, it's absolutely insane. I mean, so he is the youngest player to ever win the Outland Trophy in college. He only allowed 1 sack in 1,300 over 1,300 snaps.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure he only had like 1 holding penalty in his entire career at Oregon. Like absolutely insane career he had. And then wide receiver 1 and 2 for me, they could go either way. I have wide receiver 1 as Jeffrey Mail. And the reason why I have him there is because he's my favorite Oregon player of all time. He came to Oregon actually as a free safety and then switched to the wide receiver position. And then he became their best wide receiver from 2008 to 2010. He was a stud. And then wide receiver 2, Sammy Parker, who owns basically all of the Oregon records as a wide receiver. I think the only one that he doesn't own is, I think he's tied for receptions in a season with Jeff Mail, and then the receiving yards in a season got broke by Dylan Mitchell. I could have had Dylan Mitchell on this list, but he only really had 1 good year, so I just didn't feel right putting him there. And I think none of these guys have really had, other than Sewell, obviously, because he's just kicking off his career, but none of those guys did anything in the league. But yeah, it's kind of funny. I blame the Broncos for Royce Freeman. Defensively, this was super hard for Oregon. Surprisingly, Oregon has actually had more successful defensive players in the NFL than they have offense, which is weird to me. Best D-line, this is going to hurt your soul a little bit, Connor. I'm sorry, but it's not Haloti Ngata. And the only reason for that is because he played 2 years at Oregon. Yeah, he was one of the best defensive linemen in the country at the time, but I'm going to go with DeForest Buckner as best D-line just because he played, I'm pretty sure he played all 4 years, and his stats were just crazy. I mean, he had really, really good stats. So Defo there. Best linebacker, I talked about this as my best linebackers since 2000. Troy Dye. It's easy. There were some guys that could have made the list, like Casey Matthews. But Troy Dye he started from his very first game as a freshman, true freshman. He started middle linebacker and started pretty much every game since. I think he missed 2 or 3 games or so. He got an interception with a club hand against, I think it was Wisconsin, the Rose Bowl. Troy Dye was just incredible for us. The number 35 should honestly be retired for that guy. Corner, onto the corners. This one was really hard for me too because there's been a few corners that have been good, like Terrence Mitchell, who still plays in the league, Troy Hill, who still plays in the league as well. But I went with, at corner 1, I went with Ifo Ekre-Olumu. A lot of it was the potential that he had. He was supposed to be a top 5 pick in the draft, but then he obviously tore his ACL and before the college football playoff, and that really hurt him. Ended up being a 7th round pick, but Ifo was just, insane. He was easily the best corner in college football in 2014.
He's the one that had that crazy diving interception against Michigan State, right?
Yeah, just absolutely. He was such an athlete.
I wanted the Ravens to draft him, and then he tore his ACL, and I'm just like, damn.
Yeah, and honestly, it was everything bad that could have happened right before that Florida State and in that Florida State game, because we lost Darren Carrington.
Well, you still won, but you lost a lot of pieces that would have helped you in the championship game, right?
Yeah, because we lost Ifo, who was our best corner. We lost Darren Carrington because he was smoking dope or something. And then we lost Devin Allen, which was one of our best receivers, on the very first kick return of the Florida State game where he tore his ACL the very first play.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so it was really bad. But Ifo Ekreolmu, number 1, I mean, he was definitely the most potential, but also played really well. And then number 2 is Kenny Wheaton, a guy that you guys probably don't know.
Kenny Wheaton will score.
Yes.
Wheaton will
Okay.
score.
I'm glad that you know. I'm glad that you know.
Who was that? Was that against Oregon State or
it was
Washington?
Against Washington.
Washington.
Because Washington was ranked like top 10. They were like top 10.
And
I think Oregon was unranked.
That was a game. Was that a game winning or game clinching?
I'm almost positive it was a game clinching. I don't think it was the last play of the game, but there was like only a couple seconds.
I just know because I've seen the video and like he gets mobbed by the entire team afterwards. So I always think that that's like the fun. So I think it was like the very final play. I think in time run out.
It sealed. I looked it up. It sealed the game. So yeah, Washington was number 9 in the country at the time, and that was during Washington's reign, where they were like going to national championships and whatnot. Anyways, yeah, Kenny Wheaton, he had like 11 interceptions in his career, which I'm pretty sure is the most out of any corner in Oregon history. He was really good. The number 20 is retired, I believe. I do know that it's like up in like the rafters of the stadium. On to safeties. Safety number 1. This one was kind of hard for me too. I talked with my dad a little bit about it, but safety number 1, I could have gone Pat Chung. I could have gone with a couple other guys, but I went with Javon Holland at safety number 1. So safety number 1, Javon Holland for sure. He had a crazy amount of interceptions. His athleticism is like some of the craziest that we have seen at the University of Oregon. Like, he is absolutely crazy. And you're seeing it in the NFL now. And then number 2, Chad Cota, who is actually the father of Chase Cota, who was a wide receiver for UCLA for 3 years, and now he just transferred to Oregon to play a senior season. Chad Cota he was insane. My dad watched him throughout the 90s, and dude was a hard hitter. He wasn't as much of a ball hawk, but he was more of like a Ronnie Lott type guy, and he was not a super big white dude either, which was kind of awesome. But yeah, he was really good. My dad kind of convinced me to put that one there because he got to watch him. I didn't. I was gonna go with Verone McKinley, but Verone really only had one great year. Chad Cota had 4 really good ones, so put him there. At kicker, Aiden Schneider. He pretty much destroys every other Oregon kicker when it comes to field goal attempts and field goals made and points and all that stuff. He just destroys them all. I'm pretty sure he played for 4 years at Oregon, a full 4 years. He was there during the when they went to the national title against Ohio State in 2014. I think he was a freshman in like 13 and then played until like 2017. But at punter, I had no idea. I was going to do Tom Snee, but then he was like, okay. And then I was going to do some other guys that it's hard to rate a punter because they just punt. But so I ended up going with Tommy Thompson. 1, because that's a great name, Tommy Thompson. And 2, because he was also a place kicker as well. He was also a field goal kicker, so he had some of those stats behind him as well. So I put him there at punter. And then return man, it's pretty easy. DeAnthony Thomas, that guy, he opened up the Fiesta Bowl with a kick return touchdown, and that's pretty much all you need to know about him. Everybody knows about DeAnthony Thomas, so there you are. That's my defense. So quick rundown. So quarterback, Mariota, only Heisman winner. Running back 1, LaMichael James, Heisman finalist. Running back 2, Royce Freeman, record holder. Tight end 1, Ed Dixon. Tight end 2, Justin Peel. Best offensive lineman, Penei Sewell. And wide receiver 1, Jeffrey Mail, and wide receiver 2, Sammy Parker. D-line, DeForest Buckner. Linebacker, Troy Dye. Corner 1, Ifo Ekreolumu. Corner 2, Kenny Wheaton. Safety 1, Javon Holland. Safety 2, Chad Cota. Kind of wish I would have put Ugo Chukwu Amadi in one of those. That's the defense, kickers, and punters, and return man. Good old Tommy Thompson.